Coming up on today's episode of Inside Man United, the headlines. Are you watching Erik ten Hag? United loanee Facundo Pellistri matches Samuel Eto'o record after impressing in his second game for Granada. Newcastle braced for a Man United raid as Dan Ashworth is targeted by Ineos. Is he likely to move, or is he just irritated at these links? And Real Madrid planning a shock swap deal offer for Marcus Rashford. But would Ineos even be interested? All that coming up. A very good morning to you all. Welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Thank you very much once again for joining me. If you are new around here, if you like the content, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. So yeah, just a few stories to speak about today. Transfers, some people on loan, outgoings, incomings, all the usual kind of stuff that you can expect. And yeah, listen, without further ado, let's get into some of these news headlines. So first up, we have Goal.com with a great story about our boy, Facundo Pellistri, the United loanee, on only his second game, getting a goal and an assist against a very strong opponent in Barcelona. And you can't ask more of the boy in only a second game in La Liga, matching a record that young Sam Eto'o achieved back in the year 2000, which is the youngest player to score a goal and an assist against Barcelona. Sam Eto'o was the last player to do that. He played for Mallorca back then, and he also played for Real Madrid, believe it or not, before he ended up having the career we all know and love that he had at Barcelona. So yeah, Pellistri seems to be impressing all around him. So his contributions helped Granada take a point, 3-3, and he became the youngest player, 22 years of age and 53 days old, to score an assist in a La Liga game against Barcelona since Sam Eto'o did so for Mallorca against the Catalan side in the year 2000. So there's our boy there. Hopefully not looking back at his United career. Maybe there's something to look forward to. So yeah, he'll likely be playing again for Granada when they take on Almeria in a bottom of the table clash on Sunday. So he's, Granada they're in real trouble, and that's why there was no option to buy Pellistri originally, because they could go down. However, if Pellistri does manage to keep them up, either we're going to get a very good fee for him, or maybe he does have a future at United. You know, with all the FFP in place, United don't have a huge amount of money to spend. Mason Greenwood may or may not be coming back into the fold. We did a little piece on that yesterday, so check out yesterday's episode for more details on Mason Greenwood, how well he's been doing at Getafe, and what that could mean for Ineos at the end of the season, and whether he actually might have a route back to the club, which would piss a lot of people off. But you know, business is business, as they say. So we can see what happens on that front. But Pellistri might have a future. I mean, if he tears it up in La Liga, you know, it mightn't just be about securing a higher transfer fee for the guy. I mean, unless we're absolutely married to the idea of getting Michael Elise or someone else. But I mean, if Pellistri starts banging it in La Liga, which is a tier 1 league, it's the only other tier 1 league in Europe beside the Premier League. If he starts banging them in there, why not? I mean, the kid's got serious feet. He's very fast, and he likes to kind of take players on. And I thought he should have been given I think he could have gotten a lot more opportunities this season if Anthony wasn't there. But even when Anthony was kind of off with his troubles, Pellistri still didn't seem to get a look in. And, you know, that was one thing about Ten Hag that annoyed me. I don't think Mejbri got enough of a chance, and I don't believe Pellistri got enough of a chance. But, you know, when he's got Højlund, he's got Garnacho, he's got Mainu in the team, there's only so many young lads he can kind of stuff into that team when they've got top 4 ambitions. And with the FFP, you know, selling academy players, everything is pure profit. So, you know, I get the appeal of going down that route. But anyway, great news for Facundo Pellistri over in La Liga. Seems to be doing what he was sent there to do and more. So, you know, fingers crossed it can help the guy either secure a move and a lot of money for the club, or maybe a route back into that right wing position. I'd love to see him get another crack at the United first team, but you know, priorities change. So here we have a story here by Express, and there's a few different outlets reporting on this, but Newcastle now braced for United going back in for Dan Ashworth, who has been left irritated by the constant linking of him to the club. So Newcastle face losing one of their key names, Dan Ashworth, a very, very key appointment for Newcastle in their ability to kind of climb up the league and make themselves relevant in that top 4, top 6 conversation. Dan Ashworth having previously done great work at Brighton and Hove Albion. He is a known friend of Sir Dave Brailsford, and no doubt that connection is being used to try and tempt Dan Ashworth. Now, by all accounts, he's very happy at Newcastle. He likes the project that they have on there. I believe he gets on very well with Eddie Howe, and there's a plan to be dismantling the Newcastle first team in the summer to try and refresh the ranks and to really kind of put together a squad they know can challenge for the Champions League places consistently, because we've seen an alarming drop-off in form from Newcastle during periods of this season, and maybe they think Eddie Howe isn't the man, or they just need to get some better players in there to have a realistic shot of, you know, being a consistent contender for that top 4. So Newcastle hold concerns over Ashworth's future as the club sporting director amid links with United, Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So, I mean, listen, there's a few different names. Obviously, we all know Paul Mitchell from Monaco. I can't remember the guy who was at Palace. I can't quite remember. Then there's Dan Ashworth. There's a couple of other names that are in the frame as well. The guy who recently just left Munich, I can't quite place his name again as well. But there's a few different people that are in the mix. But by all accounts, Dan Ashworth is the clear number 1 for United to come in and be their sporting director. So according to the Telegraph, Newcastle are bracing themselves for a potential exit. And yeah, they want a new sporting director to join Omar Barada, which we all know. So on Tuesday, the Premier League confirmed his 25% stake, and it's now kind of thought that once he has this kind of monkey off his back, that this is when he's going to go ahead and start making the appointments that he wants at the top. As we've seen, this has been a very top-down recruitment strategy by Ineos, starting with clearing out the decks at the playing and the board level, and then appointing people at the board level now, because there is no real summer transfer window when it comes to that kind of stuff. And then, of course, getting the people in place who are going to be making those sporting decisions. So come summertime, a plan has been formulated. It has been put in place. There is agreement on targets, and they can start going after these players essentially, well, now. You need to start getting stuff in place now to get your deals done in June. And I think they'd probably want to try and get these deals done as early as possible to give us the best chance of making a march on that a Premier League title next year. So Ashworth believed to be on Ineos' shortlist after catching the eye after his work at Brighton and Hove Albion. They fear he'll walk away from St. James's Park to join the Ratcliffe revolution. It goes on to say here that it's claimed Newcastle now want assurances from Ashworth. They want, I mean, listen, he could just lie through his teeth. I mean, what assurances are there? You going to leave? No. You're definitely going to stay? Yeah. I mean, what good is that going to do? But, you know, if they want to be placated, placate them. So it says that he's happy at the club and remains focused on his primary task, which is a significant upheaval of the first team, like I mentioned. And the former FA director of elite development is also said to be irritated by the relentless whispers, which you would be. You just want to focus on your job and get to it. So whether or not he's just a little bit nervous that it's out there and he's planning on making that move, who knows? But listen, I don't think we're going to get Ashworth. It says here he's a close relationship with Brailsford, as I mentioned earlier. I just don't think we're going to get Ashworth. I think the Saudis are going to do absolutely everything in their power to not lose him to a club they would kind of deem themselves at a similar level to now in terms of their ability to kind of put a march on the league. Newcastle, you know, Newcastle play United tomorrow. There's no clear favorite in that game. It's still very much a flick of a coin, given the, you know, the position they both find themselves in terms of their rebuild, their squad, their health, managerial pressure, etc. Which is fair. I mean, you know, United fan might want to admit that we're at the same level as a Newcastle that's had one good season. But, you know, we've kind of been all over the place. So Newcastle would see losing that kind of a member of personnel to us as a big step backwards. And they're clearly going to have a lot of ambition in what they want to do this summer on the transfer side of things. And he's very much going to be a part of that. So I would be surprised if United got him, but money talks. So let's see what happens on that front. Now, with regards Real Madrid here making a shock move for Marcus Rashford. Now, to be honest, I don't think Real Madrid have any desire to realistically sign Marcus Rashford. This could be as a ploy to get Kylian Mbappe and his representatives to pull their collective fingers out of their arses when it comes to this negotiation. Apparently, there's been a lot of toing and froing backwards and forwards on the details of the deal that Mbappe wants from Real Madrid, but it's quite clear Madrid is where he wants to go. So Madrid do have some cards to play in that. We know you want to play here. Obviously, you want to try and get paid as much as you can, but you know, Madrid is always going to be a player's first choice if they're up against another club, unless that person maybe from Manchester or a diehard fan of, you know, like Barcelona or something like that. But usually in these kind of races, Madrid win. So yeah, it goes on to say here that United have been rocked by plenty of off-field controversies. The manager called Jadon Sancho out for his less than desirable training displays, blah blah blah. So what's going on here is Rashi's difficult season, ill for training, few bits and pieces here to kind of say why it might be credible that he is leaving. So Madrid's plan, let's get to the meat of this. However, what makes this an even more stunning revelation is how Madrid plan on acquiring the 26-year-old. So they're basically going to do a swap deal with Takefusa Kubo. Now, on an episode weeks ago, maybe even months ago, I'd reported that United were interested in the Real Sociedad player, but he is owned 50% by Real Madrid, so they will have a say on where he goes. So what United are thinking, or what Madrid are thinking of doing, is buying Kubo for a set low fee. That they have this arrangement with Sociedad. If they want to buy him back, they can for a low fee. They will do that, and as such use him as a swap pawn in a deal for Rashford, essentially getting Rashford for 30 million, because that's what the book value of Kubo would be if he was going the opposite way. So a total value of maybe 60 million quid. Best of luck with that, Real. So Real still hold 50% of his federative rights, as they call it, and thus can buy him back for a much lesser amount than what Sociedad might ordinarily command. They plan to reacquire the Japanese player and conduct a swap deal for Rashford. The team is still without a world-class striker in attack, and it can achieve it through a three-way operation. Kubo renews until 2029, but there may be an exchange between Real Madrid and Manchester United with the Japanese player as the protagonist. So Kubo Rashi swap. So it goes on to say here, the Florentino picks him up and uses him in exchange for the arrival of Rashford. It's as if Madrid paid 30 million euros for Rashford, since that is what they are going to pay for Kubo. So yeah, does this have any realistic chance of happening? No, I don't believe so. I think this is either a ruse by Real Madrid to get Mbappe's people to kind of get their ass in gear. And if United were to lose Rashford, it's going to be for a big fat chunk of cash. I don't like, Kubo was a player they're looking at, but 30 million plus Kubo for Rashford would maybe not be seen as fair market value for one of their most expensive assets, even when you're taking his wages off the books as well. But yeah, let's take that one with a little pinch of salt. But who knows what's happening behind those curtains and how those wheels are turning. That's it for the headlines today. So that is it for the news headlines today. Just a short episode, not a ton of mad news out there, but the Dan Ashworth piece certainly has a lot of grains of truth to it. He is clearly our #1 target and would be a great acquisition, but I think that's going to be a very, very hard one to do. I mean, at least with Omar Barada, it was a step up from where he was at City, and there was no real route for him to take over as CEO, at least in the kind of medium to short term. So that move made sense, but Ashworth is swapping like for like, and but it is believed that he does have family closer to Manchester than in Newcastle, so it could be preferable for him on that front to make that move. And plus his link with Sir David Brailsford, you know, it might be too hard of a lure to kind of work with a pal, be closer to family, you know, work for a far bigger club, global brand, and be part of a project that probably has a more realistic chance of success in the next 5 years on the biggest stages than Newcastle would. But again, remains to be seen. In relation to Rashford to Real, I mean, I personally would have Rashford go, but we shouldn't be selling him for less than 70, more likely 80 million. And to be honest, by today's market, seeing what other players have gone for, you know, there's no reason why United should not be able to expect to get between 90 and 100 million for Marcus Rashford, despite his form and, you know, things like that. There is still a very high price mark for someone like Marcus Rashford. Someone would be willing to take a punt on him. Most likely going to be PSG when they lose Mbappe, but you know, we'll see how things develop on that front. But more interestingly for me is our little boy Facundo Pellistri doing absolute wonderful stuff over in La Liga, banging in goals and assists for Granada, giving them some much needed firepower up front in their pursuit of safety to avoid the drop out of Spanish top tier football. I'd love to see Pellistri come back, but for some reason Ten Hag just didn't vibe with the kid. I'd like to see him get a bit more of a chance to be on. I don't think he was given a fair crack of the whip, to be honest. I think he's got good little feet, not low center of balance. He's brave. He likes to take players on, and you can check out the clips online of his goals and his assists with Granada. He's a great little player, so I'd love to see him back. But if, you know, we could get 20 million for him, why not? See what happens. Once again, thank you very, very much for joining me. As always, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification, and I will see you on the next one.